Welcome back, medical terminology students. This week we're going to be covering urology and nephrology, obstetrics and gynecology, which is chapters 12 and 13. And this might seem like a lot. However, this is what we need to cover in order to understand the male and female reproductive system. Also, I'm going to be changing things a little bit. I'm going to be shortening the presentation and not reading through the vocabulary at the end of the chapters. So I'm going to survey you guys and see which way you prefer that I do the presentation. All right, let's start with chapter 12, urology and nephrology. This is also the urinary and male reproductive systems. So our learning objectives for chapter 12 are to describe the medical specialties of urology and nephrology, understand the functions of urology and the male reproductive system, define urology and nephrology-related combined forms, prefixes, suffixes, identify the organs treated in urology and nephrology, build urology and nephrology medical terms, explain urology and nephrology medical terms, and use urology and nephrology abbreviations. So let me introduce you to urology and nephrology. Urology is the study of the urinary structures that carry urine from the kidney to the bladder and then out. It's also concerned with conditions of the male reproductive system. Urologists treat urinary tract conditions of both males and females and reproductive conditions in males. Nephrology, on the other hand, is the study of kidneys and how it makes urine. Nephrologists treat renal failure, kidney and electrolyte imbalances, and kidney diseases in dialysis patients. They also provide care for patients who have had kidney transplants. There are three homeostatic processes that the urinary system is involved with: removing waste products from the body, adjusting water and electrolyte levels, and maintaining the body's normal pH. The kidney removes substances and urine in the form of urine, and urine flows through ureters to the bladder, and the urethra carries urine out from the bladder. The male reproductive system produces sperm and secretes testosterone via testes. Sperm storage and transport and fluid secretion are handled by the other organs. Those include the epididymis, the vas deferens, seminal vesicles, prostate gland, bulbourethral gland, urethra, and penis, and we will discuss those more in later slides. So let's discuss the organs treated in urology and nephrology. One kidney is located on either side of the spine at the lower ribs, outside of the peritoneal membrane. Each kidney is made up of thousands of nephrons. The glomerulus of the nephrons filters waste and excess fluid out of the blood to make urine, and urine collects in a holding area of the kidney called the renal pelvis. Then it drains into the ureters. The ureters carry urine away from the kidneys and into the urinary bladder, and the urinary bladder is a muscular, elastic organ that stores urine until it's released. Urine then travels through the urethra and exits the body at the meatus. The testes are the male reproductive organ that makes sperm and testosterone. Sperm are the male reproductive cells, and they contain 1/2 of the normal set of chromosomes that you would find in the body. The testes are suspended outside of the body inside a sac called the scrotum, and the scrotum is there to maintain the ideal testicular temperature, which is a little lower than body temperature. The scrotum pulls the testes into or lowers them away from the body, depending on the temperature of the body and the outside environment. Sperm are stored and matured in what's called the epididymis, and then during ejaculation, sperm enter the vas deferens and travel toward the urethra. Reproductive glands add fluid to the sperm as it travels through the vas deferens. These are reproductive glands called the seminal vesicles, bulbourethral glands, and prostate glands are going to add the fluid. Seminal vesicles and bulbourethral glands are paired, whereas the prostate gland is a single gland. The sperm then enter the urethra at the prostate gland. The prostate then releases a milky fluid that nourishes sperm and makes up the majority of what we call semen. The urethra carries semen through the penis, and the semen exits the body at the glans penis. Okay, I'm going to pronounce some urology and nephrology combining forms. You can see the definitions right next to them here, and I just want you to learn how to pronounce them. Bolano, cysto, epididimo, glomerulo, litho, nephro, orco, orchio, orchido, prostato, pyelo, reno, semini, spermo, spermato, testiculo, uro, uretero. Here are a few more, and again, the definition is right next to them. Urethro, urino, vaso, vesiculo. And here are a few other combining forms that aren't necessarily related to the systems we're talking about right now, but you should be able to pronounce them so you understand how to pronounce words related to these systems. Albumino, azoto, bacterio, bio, corporo, crypto, genito, glycoso, hemo, hemato, hydro, nocti, oligo, pio, recto, varico, and veno. Okay, you'll note that there are some suffixes and prefixes that you need to review. I'm not going to go over them here, so go back and review them to help you build urology and nephrology terms. For now, you need to pause on this slide, go to page 237 if you're in the 3rd edition, and start working on building and urology and nephrology terms. Then come back and we'll do them together. Okay, welcome back to building urology and nephrology terms. Let's review your work together. Bolano is a combining form that means glans penis. You'll see the glans penis is covering the prepuce circled in this image. Discharge from the glans penis is bolonuria. Cysto is a combining form that means urinary bladder. Cystalgia is bladder pain. Cystocele is protrusion of the bladder, and cystolith is a stone in the bladder. Epididymal means pertaining to the epididymis. And can you find the epididymis in this picture? Lithotripsy is a surgical crushing of a stone. Cystolithiasis is the abnormal condition of a stone in the bladder. Nephromegaly is an enlarged kidney. Nephroptosis is a drooping kidney. Orco is a combining form that means testis. Anarchism is the state of being without the testes. Orchio also means testis. Orchiopexy is the surgical fixation of a testis. Orchialgia is testis pain. Orchido is another combining form that means testis. Orchidectomy is the surgical removal of a testis, whereas cryptorchidism is the state of a hidden testis. Ureterostomy is to surgically create an opening in the ureter, and pyelostomy is to surgically create an opening in the renal pelvis. Prostatectomy is to surgically remove the prostate gland. Pyelonephritis is the renal pelvis and kidney inflammation. A renogram is a record of the kidney. Seminuria is a condition of semen in the urine. Aspermia is a condition of being without sperm, while oligospermia is a condition of having scanty sperm. Spermatogenesis means produces sperm. Spermatolysis means to destroy sperm. Testicular means pertaining to the testis. Urology is the study of urine. Ureteritis is ureter inflammation, while ureter stenosis is a narrowing of the ureter. And you can see the ureters here in the image, and just note that the ureters are the tubes that flow from the kidneys to the bladder, whereas the urethra is what flows out of the bladder. Urethroplasty is the surgical repair of the urethra, whereas urethra pain is urethral. Urea is a suffix meaning urine condition. So glycosuria means sugar in the urine or sugar urine condition. Nocturia means night urine condition. A urinometer is an instrument for measuring urine. Vaso or vaso is a combining form that refers to the vas deferens. Can you identify the vas deferens in this figure? Vasectomy is the surgical removal of the vas deferens. Vesiculectomy is the surgical removal of the seminal vesicles. All right, that is going to be the end of chapter 12. I did not go through all the vocabulary with you. I'm going to let you go through that on your own. And I'm also going to ask which one you prefer. Would you prefer a shorter video and doing things on your own, or would you prefer that I read it all for you? So take that survey. You'll find it on Converge. And then I want you to remember to always complete the practice and review before you go on to any homework that you're assigned for this class. Okay, now we're covering chapter 13, which is obstetrics and gynecology. And this is going to cover the female reproductive system. The learning objectives for chapter 13 are to describe the medical specialties of obstetrics and gynecology, understand the function of the female reproductive system, define obstetrics, gynecology, and related combining forms, prefixes, and suffixes, identify the organs and structures treated in obstetrics and gynecology, build obstetrics and gynecology medical terms from word parts, explain obstetrics and gynecology medical terms, and use obstetrics and gynecology abbreviations. Okay, let me introduce you to obstetrics and gynecology. Gynecology diagnoses and treats conditions of the female reproductive organs, whereas obstetrics is concerned with childbirth and the care of pregnant women. However, most physicians in the field train as both gynecologists and obstetrics, and they're called OBGYNs. The female reproductive system has many organs. First, the two ovaries produce eggs as well as female sex hormones. And then there are two uterine tubes that carry the eggs from the ovaries to the uterus. The uterus provides a place for a baby to grow and develop. The vagina serves as a passage to the outside world, and then the breasts secrete milk to nourish a newborn. Fertilization is the joining of an egg from a female and a sperm from the male. Fertilization is going to typically occur in the uterine tube. The fertilized egg is known as an embryo. The embryo implants in the uterus, and that's where it grows and develops. From the third month until birth, we call the embryo a fetus. During birth, the fetus passes from the uterus to the outside world through the vagina. So let's look at some of the organs that are treated in obstetrics and gynecology. Ovaries are almond-shaped organs on either side of the uterus, and they're connected to the uterus by the uterine tubes that you can see in the figure here. They produce ova, or eggs, and release one ovum egg approximately once every month. They also produce estrogen and progesterone. The uterine tubes are narrow ducts that run from the area around each ovary to the uterus. Ova or eggs travel from an ovary to the uterus through a uterine tube. Normal fertilization is going to occur in the uterine tube. The uterus then is a hollow pear-shaped organ in the lower pelvis, and it has three portions. The fundus is the upper portion where the uterine tubes enter the uterus. The body is the largest central portion, and the cervix is the narrow lowest portion that opens into the vagina. The inner layer of the uterus is called the endometrium, and it thickens over the course of a month, basically in anticipation of receiving an embryo. However, if an embryo does not get implanted, then the endometrium is sloughed off every month during the menstrual period, also called just the period or menstruation. The myometrium is the thick muscular wall of the uterus that ends up contracting during childbirth. The vagina is a muscular tube that runs from the uterus to the outside of the body, and that serves as a passageway for menstrual flow and the fetus during childbirth. It also receives the penis and semen during intercourse. Oftentimes, what we call the vagina is actually the vulva. So the vulva is what is the external female genitalia. It contains the labia majora, labia minora, and the clitoris. The labia majora and minora are skin folds that protect the vaginal opening, the urinary meatus, where urine comes out, and the clitoris. And the clitoris is erectile tissue that is aroused during sexual activity. The breast is a collection of glands that produce milk to nourish an infant. The areola is the pigmented area around the nipple. Amnio, cervical, choreo, colpo, embryo, episio, feto, gyneco, hystero, lacto, lepero, mammo, masto, meno, metro, nato. Ooforo, ovario, salpingo, utero, vaginal. And then here are a few other combining forms that you need to know how to pronounce. Carcino, cysto, fibro, hemo, oligo, oro, pelvo, recto, toxo. Okay, let me remind you to go back and review the suffixes and prefixes if you haven't already done so. We are going to build some obstetrics and gynecology terms. So let me tell you to pause here, go to page 269 in the 3rd edition, and start working on building those terms. Then come back and see how you did. Okay, let's build some obstetrics and gynecology terms. Amnio is a combining form that means amnion. Discharge of amniotic fluid is amniorrhea. Rupture of the amnion is amniorexis. Cervical means pertaining to the cervix. Endocervicitis is inflammation of the cervix. Choriocarcinoma is a cancerous tumor of the chorion. A colposcope is an instrument for viewing the vagina. Colpectomy is the surgical removal of the vagina. Pseudocyesis is a false pregnancy. Salpingocyesis is a pregnancy in the uterine tube. Embryogenic means producing an embryo. Embryology means the study of the embryo. An episioplasty is the surgical repair of the vulva. Fetal means pertaining to the fetus. Fetoscope is an instrument for viewing the fetus. Gravida is a suffix that means pregnancy. So nulla gravida means no pregnancies. Prima gravida means first pregnancy, and multigravida means many pregnancies. A gynecologist is one who studies the female. Hysteropexy is a surgical fixation of the uterus. Hysterorexis is a ruptured uterus, and hysterography is the process of recording the uterus. A laparotomy is cutting into the abdomen. Mammary means pertaining to the breast, and mammoplasty is the surgical repair of the breast. Masto is another form that means breast, so mastalgia is breast pain. Amenorrhea is without menstrual discharge. Oligomenorrhea means scanty menstrual discharge. Endometriosis is the inner uterus inflammation. Metrorrhea is discharge from the uterus. Neonatal means pertaining to a newborn. Neonatologist is one who studies the newborn. An oocyte is an ovum cell. Oogenesis means producing an ovum. Oophoropexy is the surgical fixation of the ovary. Ovarian is pertaining to the ovary. Ovariosalpingitis is ovary and uterine tube inflammation. Para is a suffix that means to bear offspring. Nullipara means no births. Multipara means many births. Partum is a suffix that means childbirth. So antepartum means before childbirth. Postpartum is after childbirth. Salpingogram is a record of the uterine tube. Uterine means pertaining to the uterus. Intrauterine is pertaining to within the uterus. Transvaginal means pertaining to across the vagina. Okay, that is the end this week for chapter 13. Again, let me remind you that there are a lot of vocabulary words on obstetrics and gynecology starting on page 277 in the 3rd edition. And also complete practice and review in your book before you start on the homework for this week.